Hi guys, I thought that some of you guys maybe would be interested in a little short tutorial on how to make good graphs using a spreadsheet. I'm going to recommend that you learn how to use either Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. They work very much the same way to make these graphs. There are other graphing programs online. I don't know, there's like Kids Graph Free and some little programs like that. But the problem is that later in the year we're going to need to be able to make graphs that have best fit lines and error bars, and those other types of programs just are going to be too limited. They're not going to be able to do all of the things that we need a graphing program to be able to do. So I'm going to recommend Sheets, and that's what I'm going to show you. I pulled some, I made up some data for a kind of goofy little experiment that could be done. And so what I have here, one of the things that you should know is just one of the, I guess, key things about making a graph in a spreadsheet is that whatever you want on your x-axis, which is usually your independent variable, the thing that you manipulated, or it could be time, depending upon what information you're really wanting to show me. If it's time down there, then usually your independent variable is shown by different colors of lines on your graph. But in this particular case, my little made-up experiment is, let's say that I was trying to grow plants using different amounts of light. Okay, so then in my A column here, I have amounts of light, and the units, I just put percent on it because I didn't really, if you had a light meter, you could quantify that, but I'm assuming that that wouldn't be something you guys would really have. So I just said percent. So 100% would be like the full light value, and then like percent of that, 75% of that, 50%, 10%, and 0%. Okay, made up some data. And then I have some also made up heights for some 3 different types of plants. All right. And I did put the units. So these are going to be the things that are going to then be plotted against each other. And our y-axis is plant height. But with that, we'll have to type in. But basically, that's the dependent variable. The data is your dependent variable. That's the thing that you measured. All right, so and then I've got 3 different types of plants so that we can see that in comparison using a scatter plot. All right, one of the things that sometimes people make mistakes with using spreadsheets is that they put units in this section here. Like they might put percent signs on here, or they might put centimeters after all of these, or minutes if they've got time or something like that. And you can't do that. When you put words or letters into these boxes, then the spreadsheet program thinks it's text. And it won't know how to plot it. You ultimately want this to plot like in math class. Values are what you want this computer to know that you're doing. So do not put units in by your values, your dependent and your independent variables. Only up on the top with the headings. Okay, so once you've got your data in, okay, once again, this was my x-axis, my independent variable, the thing I manipulated. This is all the data that I collected. All right, so now I'm ready to graph this. So what you want to do is you want to highlight the whole data set. Okay, so all the way from A1 through the end of your data set. In my case, it's D6. Then you want to insert the chart. Now there's 2 ways you can do that. This icon here will insert chart, but also you can go into insert and then chart. They'll do the same thing. Okay, so should be coming. All right, so types of charts that we're going to be dealing with here. Now it's giving us recommendations, various different kinds of options. Now here's the thing. If your independent variable is something that is a separate, discrete categories, differences from one another where they don't blend from one to another. So let's say I was using different colors of light and I was growing the plants in red light and green light and white light. Red light doesn't blend to green light, doesn't blend to white light. So that would definitely need to be then a bar graph. This case, though, we're dealing with percent of 100%. That is something that we certainly can vary along a continuum. So this would be one that you would want to have a scatter plot for. So your scatter plot's probably down here, but I'm going to go into chart types and see what it looks like, show you the different things on here. So chart types, you can pick various different things. I do not recommend line graph. What a line graph is going to do is it's going to space these values here evenly, separated from one another. And you can't do that. That's not fair because there's only 10% difference here where there's 40% difference there. And so you can't do that. That's not proper scaling. So we need to scroll down to scatterplot. Ta-da! All right. So now you can kind of get an idea here before you even doing any insert of, does this data make sense? Does this match up with what we have in our spreadsheets? And it does look like we've got some data at 0 and at 10, 50. That's what we had in there. And then the values, yeah, they look good. Okay, so then I would go into customization. All right, customization, you can do lots of stuff. This is where you're going to make sure that your axes are labeled and your title is done correctly and you can change things. All right, so this title is not okay. It just threw together various things from our x-axis and our y-axis, and it's not okay. So if you want a sentence starter for a good scientific title, I would say try to use the effect of blank on blank, okay? That is, it's going to give you a more descriptive title, a title that Mrs. Gilmore is going to like better than just, like Plant Growth Lab. That's not okay. You have to give some description. Scientific titles are they're not catchy and cute, but they are descriptive. So this little made-up experiment that I had was the effect of light level on plant growth. Okay. And you could probably even be more descriptive in there depending upon what experiment you're doing. Like if I only had one species, I could say the effect of light level on growth in sunflowers or something like that too. Okay, other things that we can do in here. If I scroll down, all right, here's where you can change stuff on the axes. Right now it's set for the horizontal axis here. The horizontal axis looks pretty good. It's labeled properly. It's all set, I think. I don't think we need to change anything. The only one thing that you might want to do with the horizontal axis is add a few more lines, possibly. It's not critical in this particular case, but sometimes during the year there may be things where you want more lines, so you can do that there. I don't know. I think I kind of liked it better before. Yeah, I like that better. But you can do that there. All right. However, our vertical axis needs some help because it doesn't have a label. So we need to then go back up, see where this said horizontal. You need to toggle down, left vertical, give it a title. Now this was plant height. And then this was in centimeters, units. Never forget your units. You can change your minimum and your maximum values. That'll change. Right now it's counting, it's numbering from 0 to 60. Let's say that we didn't want it to go up to 60, we only wanted it to go up to 50. You could do 0 and then say 50. I don't think we have any data beyond, I think 50 is our highest number. You could do that, see what it looks like, see if we want to keep that. So you could, that would work. This is our highest data point here. All right. You could change your grid lines here too. If you scroll down further, here's where you can change the colors of different things. So let's say that I really wanted to have a poster and I've got a color scheme going in my poster and I want things to match. So this is the petunia height. That's the blue ones. Let's say I don't want it to be blue. All right, it doesn't match my color scheme on my poster. I'm going to make those, let's make them orange. All right, so the petunias are orange. Can petunias be orange? No, let's make them pink because petunias are more likely to be pink. Okay, so there we go. They're pink. And you can also increase the font size if you want, or the point size. And you can change them if you don't want them to be a circle. Maybe, too bad there's not flowers. You could make them triangles if you want, whichever you want. Kind of prefer the circles or the squares, triangles. There we go. All right, that looks good on that one so far. If you wanted to do trend lines and stuff like that, this is where you would be adding trend lines. So there's a trend line for that one if you wanted to add that. I don't know if it's critical here because we're not calculating a rate. If you're calculating a rate, you would need that. All right, sunflowers. All right, so see how I'm toggling down then from my series. Sunflowers are never red. Well, I don't know about never, but they're not usually red. I don't want yellow. I can't see yellow very well. I'm going to change them to orange. And I'm also going to increase the font on that, or the point size on that. And then the final one, begonias. All right, so begonias, they can be pink or they can be red. Let's make them red begonias. And I'm also going to change this. And I'm going to make them diamonds or something. I could do that. I don't know if it looks to me like these are smaller. I don't know. Looks pretty good. Oh, I didn't add a trend line for those. I could do that. Linear trend line. That gives you a best fit line. I don't think I really want a trend line. Just not looking right here with this, and it's, yeah. Don't really, I'm taking my trend lines off in this case. Okay. So now let's take a look at the graph. Make sure it has everything we want. We have a legend, and that looks good. We've got a y-axis and x-axis, a good title. It matches our data. Looks great. All right, insert. Okay, so there's our graph. Now, what we want to do is we want to get this onto our poster. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to need to go in this upper right-hand corner here where there's this little pull-down arrow and copy the chart. And then you should be able to paste that into your scientific poster, whether you're doing it in PowerPoint or whether you're doing it in slides or whether you're doing it in, I think some people are doing it in Google Draw. As long as it looks like a scientific poster and it's, you know, a one screen thing, that should work out for you okay. So that's generally how you make a graph using a spreadsheet. If you have any questions, you can contact me via email or through the Google Classroom. Thanks!